We're going to be looking at fraction operations today. The first thing we need to be able to do is change a mixed number into a fraction, an improper fraction. So there is some very algebraic notation here that tells you how to do that. Essentially what's happening there is you're taking the denominator, you're multiplying it by the whole number, and then you're adding it to the numerator. And then the denominator stays the same. So that's what this says over here. This is denominator times the whole number, and then add the numerator. Denominator stays the same. So I'm going to go ahead and do this with 4 3/2. I'm going to show you the process. It's all done there for you, but I'm going to write it out so that you can see it actually happening. So we take the denominator and multiply it times the numerator. Multiply it times the whole number, then add the numerator. And then it still stays over the same denominator, so it's still over 2. From there, we just have to calculate. So on the top, I've got 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So now I've got 11 over 2, which is what they said the answer was. At this point, you should pause your video and see if you can do these two that are over here on the side. So you're going to pause the video, you're going to work these two, and then you'll come back and see how you did. All right, welcome back. So for the first one, number 1, you should have gotten 31 over 7, and for number 2, you should have gotten 47 over 5. If you were unable to arrive at those answers, you need to go back and watch that video again watch the first part of the video on how to convert. Our next topic is adding or subtracting fractions. And for our first example, we're going to be adding or subtracting fractions that already have a common denominator. In order to add or subtract, you do have to have a common denominator. So if they don't, we have more steps we have to follow. So the basic process here, denominators are already the same. This is for addition or subtraction. You keep the denominator, and then you just add or subtract the numerators, whatever it says to do. So we have a couple of examples here. I'm going to go ahead and work each of those so you can see them in the process. So example 1 says 1/2 plus 5/2. Now because the denominators are already the same, I'm just going to keep the denominator, and then I can do whatever it says to do with the numerators. It says that we're supposed to add. So this is going to be 1 plus 5. Then we just need to simplify. So again, I'm keeping the denominator the same, adding the numerators. 1 plus 5 is 6. And then always with fractions, if you can reduce your result, you need to. You know you can reduce it if the numerator and the denominator have any common factors. 6 and 2 are both divisible by 2, so we can divide them both by 2, which would give me 3 on top and 1 on the bottom. And when there's a 1 for your denominator, you don't have to write that. So we'll just leave that off. For our second example on this one, we've got a subtraction problem. So we've got 1/7 minus 5/7. And again, I'll talk through the process here. So because the denominators are already the same, I'm going to keep the denominator, and then I'm going to do whatever it says to do with the numerators. So this says 1 minus 5. So I'm going to write that down. Now, once again, I'm going to keep the denominator. I'm going to go ahead and perform this arithmetic here in the top. So 1 minus 5 is -4. And then I would check to see if I can reduce this. 4 and 7 have no factors in common. So that means that's the result. So -4/7. Okay, once again, you're going to pause the video now, and you're going to work numbers 3 and 4, and then come back and check your answers. Okay, welcome back. So on number 3, when you add those, you end up with 4 over 4, which reduces to just a 1. So that's just 1. On number 4, you have to change this mixed number into a fraction in order to add these two together. They do have the same denominator already, but you do have to make this a mixed number. So this is 36 over 5. And when you add 3 over 5 to that, you get 39 over 5. You can also then change this back into a mixed number, so that would be 7 4/5 if you were interested. So again, if you missed either of those, you need to go back and figure out what you did wrong and maybe rewatch the video on how to do it. Okay, when you have addition or subtraction, but the denominators are not the same, the first thing you have to do is find the least common multiple of the denominators. And then you have to make equivalent fractions using that denominator that is the least common multiple. Once you've done that, the denominators will be the same, and so then you can follow the same rules that we did before. So again, I'm going to take these examples and just rework them for you, even though they're already worked here on the paper. It's helpful to hear it in process. So here we go. This is addition, which means in order to add, I do have to have the same denominator. 3 and 2 are not the same, so before I can do anything else, I have to make them have the same denominator. So I have to think of what the least common multiple is for 3 and for 2. Multiples of 3 are 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, etc. So it's 3 times various numbers. Multiples of 2, similarly, is 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, and so on. So the smallest one that both of these have as a multiple would be 6. So I'm going to go ahead and write down 6 for both of the denominators. Now I have to adjust the numerators so that they go along with this new denominator that I have here. So with my first one, my denominator was a 3. Looking at this one, I need it to become a 6. So to make that happen, I had to multiply it by 2. With a fraction, anything you do to the bottom, you have to also do to the top. So I have to also multiply the top by 2. This is actually using that multiplicative identity property because we're multiplying this fraction by 2 over 2, which is just 1, the multiplicative identity. That's why this works. It's not actually changing the value of the fraction. So on the top, 1 times 2 is 2. So now this fraction becomes 2/6. We'll do the same thing with the second fraction that's on here, so 5/2. Again, my denominator was a 2. I need for it to become a 6. So in order for a 2 to become a 6, I had to multiply by 3. And so once again, I would have to do the same to my numerator. So again, I'm multiplying the second fraction by 3 over 3, which is the multiplicative identity. So on the top, 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, now that the denominators are the same, I can go ahead and add the numerators. So I'd have 2 plus 15, which is 17. So this one is 17 over 6. The subtraction problem is done similarly. The only difference is once you get to this step, instead of adding the numerators, you're going to be subtracting them. All right, so once again, pause your video and you're going to work numbers 5 and 6, and then come back and check your answers. Welcome back. Okay, on number 5, you should have gotten 1/4 as your answer. On number 6, you should have gotten 69/10 or 6 9/10. 6 9/10 would be that same answer written as a mixed number. If you missed either of those, go back and watch the video on adding and subtracting with different denominators, and then see if you can figure it out. Okay, our next topic is multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions is actually the easiest operation we have with fractions. It does not get any easier than this. So if you've got multiplication in between your two fractions there, all you have to do is multiply the top and the top, so AC here, and the bottom, BD, and then reduce, and you're done. So let's take the example we have here. So we've got 1/2 times 5/3. So because it's multiplication, I don't care if the denominators are the same or not. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to say top times top, so 1 times 5, and bottom times bottom, 2 times 3, and then just simplify. So 1 times 5 is 5. On the bottom, 2 times 3 is 6. So I get 5/6 as an answer. All right, pause again and try number 7 and 8. Okay, welcome back again. So number 7, you should have gotten 5/12 as the reduced answer. Just the multiplication would result in 10 over 24, but 10 and 24 are both even numbers, so they're both divisible by 2. So you do have to divide out 2, and you get 5/12. On number 8, you did have to change the 3 1/4 into an improper fraction from a mixed number before you could do the multiplication. But then you multiply, you get 26 over 36. And once again, 26 and 36 are both even, so you can reduce them by dividing both by 2, so you get 13 over 18. If you missed either of those, you need to go back and watch the videos again, and then come back and try again. All right, our last operation with fractions is dividing. Now, dividing fractions actually isn't difficult at all. A fraction bar is actually just a division symbol. But if you have a fraction on top and a fraction on the bottom, this is what it actually means. So this would be a over b divided by c over d. Now the way to multiply these is you keep the first fraction the same, so a over b stays the same. You're going to change your symbol to multiplication. This is another way that you might see multiplying, an asterisk. And then you take the reciprocal of the second one. We reviewed that word reciprocal yesterday. So we take the reciprocal of the second one. But now since it's multiplication, we just follow the same rules that we did for multiplying, which is the really easy operation with fractions. So we just multiply top times top and bottom times bottom. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and do this example with you, even though it's already worked out. So they started us off with 1/2 over 3/7. So the first thing I would do is write that out using an old style division sign. So 1/2 divided by 3/7. And now because it is dividing fractions, I'm going to keep the first one the same. So 1/2 stays the same. I'm going to change this to multiply, and then I'm going to take the reciprocal of the second one. So this would be 7 over 3. Now, since it's multiplying, it's just easy fraction. So I'm just going to multiply straight across the top. I got 1 times 7 on the top, 2 times 3 on the bottom. And then I would reduce if I can. 7 over 6 does not reduce. 7 and 6 have no factors in common. However, I could change it to a mixed number. There is one group of 6 in 7, so that's 1 whole. And there's 1 extra, so that's 1 and 1/6. So either of these answers would be good. Honestly, I like this one better. But if you wanted to practice changing to a mixed number, that's good also. Okay, so now pause again and work on number 9 and the second number 9. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, go ahead and try these two and then come back and check your work. Okay, welcome back to check your work here. On the first number 9, your answer should have been 17/4 or 4 1/4. On the second one, it should have been 55, which I forgot to change to a mixed number, so let's do that together now. Let's see, 3 will go into 55. This is how I do this. I'd say 55 divided by 3. So 3 will go into 5 one time, and then I multiply, that makes a 3, and then subtract, and then I bring down the 5. 3 will go into 25 8 times. 3 times 8 is 24, and then subtract. So it goes in 18 times with 1 left over. So that means this would be 18, and then 1/3, 18 and 1/3. So either of these answers would be good. Again, I like the improper fraction better, but sometimes you do need that mixed number. All right, now it's time to practice. Go into Schoology and look at the next assignment, the practice assignment that's there. There are some really interesting problems in there with some error analysis.